Yeah, hi there. Hey, I'm going to be tacking this on to a video that I've already tacked onto. Well, it's a deep subject for me, so there's a lot of details to it, and when I make the video I found I forgot stuff. So I'm adding it on because, man, it's hard to... I've already remade the whole thing 2 or 3 times. And it's a lot of talking each time. Anyway, later in this video is about how well I've done living on skim milk and a little cream for 5 years now. And sometime into the video I'm going to talk about how I used my blood tests to attempt to convince a real scientist, a real upscale or high profile or high ranking scientist to research or to look into this diet and see if he can proclaim that it's a safe and healthy diet for human beings in general. Anyway, what I should have said is that on my last physical they drew 3 or 4 vials of my blood and then they subject it to about 80 tests. Oh, and they do urine and stool tests as well. And because of this diet, I'm quite sure I placed in the normal range on every single test. So I mentioned how I sent copies of this records to this scientist, and how it's somewhat of a proof that the diet is a healthy diet. I actually show you these test results on another YouTube video. It'd be easy to find. Just go to my channel and look for videos that mention milk and cream in the title. And I think the title says something like trying to get, well, it says the word update and then it says trying to get a diet of skim milk and cream approved. Something like that anyway. But anyway, I actually hold the test up to the camera. But anyway, on this video, this is a really long video about my experience and what it's done for me and why I think it could help people with various diseases. And it would also be good for healthy people as well, I do believe. But it is quite an extreme diet. It might appeal more to people who have more to gain, who have various diseases. And the idea is that it might help them. If you try it and it helps you, please let me know. It will help me as I try to get the scientific establishment to investigate the diet and I hope approve it. Yeah, hi there. Hey, this is a little video I'm tacking on to my longer video about how I've been living on skim milk and cream for the last 5 years. There's a place in the video where I'm talking about the diabetes department at NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and I accidentally call it the nutrition department once. And I want to make clear here at the beginning that I do mean the diabetes department. It is a mistake. Probably you could have figured it out, but I thought I'd make it crystal clear. Also, it's true that I have been living on skim milk and cream for the last 5 years, but there's one other thing I do eat, which I've made a YouTube video about. When I'm out and about walking, I do sometimes tear off a little grass and eat it. And I probably started doing that because I walk a lot. I just got into eating leaves off plant and then I shifted to grass because, oh, I'm so interested in milk, and cows eat grass and then they make milk. So for me, eating a little grass here and there went with my interest in cows and milk and cream. But if you decide to try this diet, I don't think you'd have to eat the grass. It's the milk and cream that's the mainly beneficial thing. And that is the huge majority of my diet. You know, probably you believe me that I've been living on skim milk and cream, but if you have any doubts, I was looking at myself in this webcam. If you look at my nose, it's so clean looking. It's so uninflamed looking. It has a very smooth, creamy look to it. And that probably comes from just living on milk, skim milk and cream. My diet is about 95% skim milk and 5% cream. And as I say later in the video, when you live on just those foods, your cells don't get as clogged and irritated. So probably your skin in general is better, but it really shows up in my nose, I think, that it looks less kind of inflamed than most people's. And I'll tell you, on this diet, my senses are much more acute. Like my sense of smell is stronger, probably my sense of hearing. All my senses are a little better, but the sense of smell, it really shows up. And as I say later in the video, when you live on milk and a little bit of cream, it doesn't clog you up as much as solid food, so it makes sense that your senses would be more acute. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the video. Hello there. Well, this video is a remake. If my subscribers get this video, and thanks for subscribing, I hope I don't bore them. I kind of have made this video before, but I keep being dissatisfied with it, so I keep remaking it. However, when I remake it, it probably gets better, and it does get some new info from the last time I made it, so it's not completely bad. But this is a remake of my, well, it's the video where I'm talking about this diet I've been following for about somewhere between, well, we'll say about 5 years now, which has been all milk, all skim milk plus a little bit of cream. And I buy the milk separately from the cream. Generally with milk, they do something called homogenization, where milk naturally separates after you take it from the cow, and the cream rises to the top. Most people have heard that phrase. If you look at milk that hasn't been processed in any way, you can see a dividing line between the cream that has risen to the top and the milk below, which is a slightly different color. And the cream would have most of the fat in it, so the milk below would really almost be what we call skim milk. Now when you buy whole milk, what they've done, they force the cream and the skim milk below to sort of mix in together, and that's called homogenization. And in my case, I buy skim milk and cream in separate containers and drink them separately because it seems to agree with me more than if I buy homogenized milk, where the two have been forced together. Anyway, I started doing this diet because my eyes were bothering me, and I wasn't doing very well with my optometrist. Basically, I was changing eyeglass prescriptions every year. My optometrist had made me my new yearly prescription, and I do think it was the right prescription, but it strained my eyes to wear it. And the only way I could deal with the eye strain was to put in dry eye drops every 3 hours every day. Even though I didn't really have dry eye, the drops just had a soothing effect. But that seemed very unhealthy. That meant if I wore the glasses for the next year and I wore them 16 hours a day, I'd be putting in dry eye drops every 3 or 4 hours every day, and didn't seem good for my eyes. Didn't seem like it would continue to work. It was working for a week or two, but I didn't think it would continue to work. So I went to this diet and I found that I felt better, and I lost a lot of weight, like 80 pounds, and I found I could go without glasses or drops, and my eyes felt okay, not perfect, but okay. And I do largely attribute this diet. I really have the impression the weight loss is great. I'm 6'1", and I'm down to about 165 currently, and I easily maintain at that weight on this diet. But it's not just the weight loss, because I think that if I took in the same number of calories, now I should say that living on skim milk, I drink between 1 and 2 gallons a day. It sounds like a lot of fluid, but it's mostly water. It's actually maybe like 2,300 calories a day, which is a really reasonable amount. That's why my weight stays low. If I were to take in 2,300 calories a day of solid food, I tend to think that I would feel worse. It would be the same number of calories, but there's something about the form of milk. Well, if there's a part of your body that's weak or diseased, somehow milk does not irritate it as much as solid food. I don't know everything about why this is true, but based on my experience, it is. So it has something to do with the fluid form of milk. It's true that when you eat solid food, you break it up, you chew it, your digestive system breaks it up more. But the way it feels to me is that it never breaks up as much as milk, and hence it clogs. It's your blood that carries, after your food is broken up, your blood carries it around your body to all your cells to nourish them and keep them alive. And it feels like that solid food never breaks up as completely as milk, because milk starts out broken up. And hence, it feels like it clogs and irritates the cells of your body, particularly a part that's weak or diseased. So if I eat even a little solid food, my eyes start to hurt, and other parts of my body hurt, like my calves start to hurt, and I'm sleepier, I'm taking more naps, and all of that in my mind has to do with solid food not being as broken up, and hence clogging. So I think I'd like to see this diet tried by people with all kinds of diseases, because I think that this same aspect of milk, where it doesn't clog and irritate, would help with a lot of diseases. Like I have in mind AIDS and cancer are the two biggies that come to mind. And I want to emphasize this hasn't been tested or proven. I think it would help with those diseases based on my own experience, and I think my body reacts about the same way everyone's body would, but it hasn't been proven. However, I'm putting it on YouTube as giving people an option. I don't see a high risk in trying the diet if you have some disease, to see if it would help you. If you discovered that you didn't like it in some way, you could very easily return to whatever you were eating before. And milk is such a benign substance. It's just, I don't know, I can't think what words to put for it, except benign is like the best word. It's just, it tastes really good. I mean, I think people do think of milk as very healthy and wholesome and benign. Now, if you were in some course of treatment for some disease, you might, you'd have to think, do you want to try this alternative, untested, unproven treatment? But you'd have to, you could ask your doctor about it, but you'd have to tell them it was unproven and untested. But I can't see why you couldn't do both. Just continue a conventional course of treatment But try this if you have a good intuition about it, or if what I'm saying makes sense. If you do try it and it helps you, let me know. I'm in a process of trying to get the diet both approved and tested on diseases by the medical establishment, the medical and nutrition establishment, and anyone who gets help by it and lets me know, that would be useful to me. Well, it would make me feel good to know that it helps someone, and it would also be useful in trying to get the establishment to test it. Specifically, I'm talking to an office called Disease Prevention and Health Promotion. Now that is an office that is not just for sick people. That's an office that creates dietary guidelines for all Americans, healthy or sick. In that case, I'm trying to get the diet approved in general as a healthy and safe diet for any human being. And then I'm also talking to the National Institutes of Health, which specifically targets disease, to see if they'll test the diet on different diseases. So they're kind of a related pursuits, but I can differentiate them. Both processes, well, in my mind, they're going fast enough. It's an ambitious project, so it doesn't happen overnight. And I don't really have the background. I'm pushing this as best I can, but I don't even have a science background. I have a humanities background. I have an English degree from Stanford. So I do my best to talk to these doctors and these MDs and nutrition PhDs. And it's bogged down a bit at the moment. Well, what happened with ODPHP, I sent a cover letter about the diet, and I sent copies of my last set of blood tests and my height weight record from my doctor to the head of ODPHP, and he wrote me back. He said he'd give the cover letter to his nutrition division, but he was sending back the records because he had no way to keep private records, confidential records. And I wrote him back and said, well, that's harsh because the records prove my case. Actually, you, my YouTube viewer, can see the records on another video I've made about this diet. It should be easy to find with my name on my channel, and it also the title of the video also mentions skim milk and cream. So I've talked to his secretary. I've made it clear that I believe the records need to go along with the cover letter because the records are a kind of proof. And so far he hasn't contacted me, so I'm trying to figure out what to do there. With NIH, where they test on sicknesses, well, that's a bit bogged down, but it'll all get back on track. In that case, I had written to the director. He referred my concern to the diabetes department because they do most of the nutrition testing at NIH. I had talked to someone high in the nutrition department. Well, they had written and said, we won't test this diet on people because it lacks certain nutrients that are recommended by the U.S. government. I wrote back and said, I acknowledge that it's lacking certain nutrients, but in spite of the lacking nutrients, I've been on the diet for 5 years. I haven't seen any harm from the lacking nutrients, but I've seen a lot of benefits, so I still believe you should test it. And they never wrote back to that. So I wrote to the office of the director asking who their supervisor was, and that question got sent to a department that was really not the right department for it to get sent to. So I'm having to mess around with clearing up what happened with that question. And then eventually I do know now who is the head of the diabetes department. He's an MD named Griffin Rogers. So eventually I'll write to him and I'll present my question. The question still is, yes, the diet's lacking certain nutrients, but I haven't seen any harm from the lacking nutrients, and I don't think anyone else would either, but I think they might see wonderful benefits. So maybe by talking about that on YouTube, it'll get me, I'll see how to quickly unravel those situations and start again. Oh boy, the phone's ringing. I didn't think of that when I started making this video, but I don't want to stop. I'm sorry for the ringing phone. I hope it's not disturbing the viewer. Let me see if I can
David. Please leave a message.
Oh, and I can't mute the answering machine either. Oh, but they're not leaving a message. Well, sorry about that. Anyway, now other aspects of that. Well, the only other aspect I can think of right now, when I first started experimenting with fluid milk products, was about 15 years ago. I got a hernia. And if you don't know what an inguinal hernia is, it's a hernia down, just for a guy, it's just above their scrotum. Basically a little tear develops down there, and the organs in your stomach area kind of start leaking down into your ball bag. And you can push them back up through the tear, but after a minute or two, gravity just causes them to leak down further, or again, to leak down again. And I experimented first with living on milk to see if it would help, and it didn't. I would push the organs back up, but they would fall down again. So then I went to actually all cream, and I really was living just on cream, which is a very rich fluid and strong when you drink it straight. But it did, when I pushed the organs back in, living on cream, actually the organs stay back up in. But as it so happened, I only tried that for a couple weeks, and then I decided to just have a hernia surgery. I don't know what would have happened if I had stayed on it. Maybe the tear would have healed, and if the tear had healed, the hernia would have been healed without surgery. That would have been pretty fantastic, and presumably once it's healed I could go off all cream. Now I mention that because cream could be an option too. People could experiment with skim milk and cream, or milk or cream. If I try to live on cream today, it's too much. I can't do it. It bothers my eyes. Occasionally I will start drinking a lot of cream, like well, more than maybe close to a quart a day, but I have to stop that. But I'm older. I'm 54. If you had some affliction, when I was doing cream 15 years ago, I could handle it. It wasn't bothering me, and it was helping the hernia. But today, if I do it, well, actually the cream bothers my eyes, interestingly enough, if I do too much of it. But the skim milk is okay on my eyes. But if you were younger and you had some malady, you could maybe you could experiment with cream. A lot of people would say it's wrong because it's too much cholesterol. So I don't know, those kinds of rules. I go more by how I feel. If I drink a lot of cream, like back then, and the cholesterol isn't bothering me, my body feels okay. It wouldn't concern me too much. But I'd watch, well, I'm just throwing this out there as an option. It's not something I know as much about from my experience, but there could be an option to play with the ratios of cream and milk, depending on your individual situation. But boy, you can do really good with a lot of milk. I sure wonder what it could do for other people. I think it could be a very exciting kind of therapy. So if you like, watch my other videos on milk. in the last couple years, I realized that of all the containers of milk, the one that's most shaped like a breast would be the gallon container, because it's round and full at the bottom and tapers to something like a nipple at the top. So I started drinking all my milk from gallon containers, and that was cool. Now recently I realized that if you were really sucking from your mom's breast, you'd actually alternate breasts, right? So I'm always getting out 2 1-gallon containers and going back and forth between them, and that's been awfully cool. Well, I have another video about that, so if you're anyway, that's been cool. For example, it's got me doing more things with my left hand, like writing and drawing, whereas before I was just drinking my milk with my right hand, you know, raising the gallon to my lips. But now, by drinking milk with both hands, I'm doing other things with both hands. So that's all I can think of. So if you have any questions or comments, do get them to me. Thank you. Goodbye. Yeah, this is a addendum to my milk video. A few more points. I did want to make the point that I had talked about the fluid nature of milk being good for your body, or not irritating your body as much as solid food. I did want to make the point that there's still something different about milk, because when I drink other fluids such as V8, that seems to bother my eyes as well, whereas milk seems to be very easy on them. I also wanted to say, if you were to try the diet and it helped you, I would imagine you might have to stay on it. I don't know that it would cure you and then you could return to whatever you were doing before. I'm not sure on that, but I think so. And third point, something that helps me stay on milk. Well, I got this whole idea from the Maasai people of Kenya, who live on meat and beef, or milk and beef from their cows. But they, at least the men, don't drink milk and eat beef on the same day. The Maasai say that if you drink milk and eat meat on the same day, then you're a glutton. And I like that rule, so I follow it. So every day I choose between milk and beef, and I always choose milk because it leaves me feeling better.